Today we're back filming from my fish room, or the aquabase. I'm still not 100% confident with the name aquabase. It might still be changed in the future, but for now it's the aquabase fish room. And today we're going to be working on that tank right there and moving some fish into this tank over here. So this tank we set up a few weeks ago. You can see the plants are growing, and I've also added some plants just temporarily. They're not meant to be in here, but I don't have anywhere else to put them right now, so they're in here. Like, yeah, these Anubias. But the Echinodorus uruguayensis, the uruguayensis sword plant, seems to be growing. This plant as well. My tiger lotus from Nigeria, the Nigeria tiger lotus 2016, yeah, is also doing really well. You can see it's not a green tiger lotus, and it's also not a red tiger lotus. It's slightly different, and it looks awesome. Some of these leaves aren't doing too well though. They might be melting a little bit, but that's because it came in like this and I was neglecting it for the first few days. But we do have some new growth at the bottom over there, so that's a good sign. It's a good sign that this plant is growing. And you can see the water is slightly brown. It was much more brown a few days ago, but I did a big water change, and it's just this driftwood releasing tannins, so I'll probably do a water change again later today. But over here today we're going to be working on this tank. This tank is just a mix of some random fish, and you can see there's algae growing at the bottom. Let's take a closer look. So first of all, we've got a couple angelfish, the red back or the red shoulder angelfish, as well as some boesemani rainbow fish that I bred, or the boesemani. Yeah, and these guys are awesome, these rainbow fish. I'll show you guys the parents right here. You probably saw in the video where I did a tour of this rack system. The parents are right here. So this is the female, and there's one female to two males. So there's a male back there if these little angelfish will get out of the way. But yeah, so that's a male. Here's another male, the other male. And this one has a little bit better colors. But yeah, so those are the parents, and then I've got even smaller ones up in here. So these are the same fish, just smaller, and these guys take forever to grow. Those guys are like 5-6 months old, and they're still at that size, so really slow growing fish. But I want this tank, this 3-foot tank, to be just for these boesemani rainbow fish. So we're going to scape it, so well, not really scape it, but move some plants around and plant some plants, as well as add a driftwood. Add this piece of driftwood right here. So this beautiful piece, and it's a low piece. It doesn't come up really high. You can see it stays low. I still don't know like which angle I want to have this at. I like all these little pokey stuff, but I'm not a huge fan of how sharp they are. They're kind of sharp, and I just don't want my rainbow fish like banging into these and getting beat up, getting cut on these things. So I was actually looking for a duller piece of driftwood, kind of something like this. You can see this doesn't have much points, but I don't have another one that's like that. And I actually went to a fish store today to look for some, but I couldn't find one that I liked. So for now we're going to use this, and if I find something better, something of similar size, I might just swap it out in the future. But for now, this will work fine. And these rainbow fish are still small, so we'll be able to maneuver around them. But once they start getting bigger, I might change this piece of driftwood out. So yeah, let's get started. I'm going to first clean this tank a little bit, take out some of this algae that's growing at the bottom, and then yeah, we'll add this driftwood in. And I gotta move the angelfish as well, so these angelfish will be coming out and going into that tank over there. Alright, so I've just drained some water out. We're doing a water change as well as reset this tank, I guess. And I'm gonna clean the glass as well. You can see the glass is pretty dirty here. I've moved the angelfish into this tank. They're kind of stressed out right now, so they're all in this corner. But we've got a heater in there. The temperature is nice and warm for them. It's at 25 degrees Celsius, which I think is okay for them. It could be warmer, but I also want to grow plants in here, and we don't want it too hot for the plants, so there's a balance to it. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the driftwood in and see how well it fits and kind of play around with it. I think I know which way I want it to face. I want it to face this way, so I'm going to have a look and see how I like it, and then we'll plant it up a little bit. There's some plants that I've got that I want to add in here. I've got this right here. This is 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝘀𝗀𝘀, and it was doing much better a few weeks ago, but you know, I just neglect my plants as I usually do, and this one's starting to like drop its leaves, and I don't know if the fish are like eating at it, because I did see lots of floating leaves up at the top, or I don't know if it's just not doing well the way it is. So I've got this 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀. I've had this for about 3 years, this exact piece, and it's been this skinny the whole time, the whole 3 years of its life, because I've just floated it in my tanks, and sometimes it would root itself into the gravel, but it'd just be hanging in there, just like floating around in the tank, but the roots would be in the gravel. And this plant is so strong. It's unbelievably strong. If you have the chance to get 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, I highly recommend it, because once it starts growing, once you plant this in, it becomes an amazing centerpiece plant like I've got in this tank. This tank isn't looking its best right now, but you can just see this 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is ginormous. It's huge. And it looks incredible, and I've got a baby one here, and this plant actually came with that plant. So when I bought this, this was a little baby that was hanging off of it, and I just plucked this off and just floated it in all my random tanks over the years. And today, it's finally that time to plant it, and it's going in this tank, so I'm gonna plant that right now, as well as some of the other plants. I'm gonna organize a little bit, and we'll see how this thing turns out. So stay tuned, and yeah, I'm excited for this. So I just found this amazing piece of Bulbitis. It's got some algae on it, but I just found this incredible piece in that tank. Well, I knew I had it, but I didn't realize it's grown this nicely. And this isn't regular Bulbitis 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 that most fish stores sell. This is a type from Guinea in Africa, and it's not very common. The leaves are slightly different. You guys will see later, but it's more serrated, like you can actually see right here. It's more serrated compared to the regular Bulbitis. So I'm gonna trim off some of the bad leaves on this, and then we'll add it in the tank, and it's gonna look so awesome. Alright, so that is how it looks in the tank currently, and I'm gonna play around with it a bit more, make it fit in nicely, because right now it's just placed on top of this driftwood and it's not looking that amazing. But I'll play around with that, try to yeah, make it look more natural. And the amount of leaves I trimmed off is quite a bit, quite a good amount. Look at this, all these leaves. These were kind of brown in color, so I just wanted to trim. Like you can see this bit right here, it's kind of brown. I'm not sure why Bulbitis do this. It's not algae. Well, it could be diatoms, but I really don't think it is. I just think the leaves are unhealthy and they're slowly dying off. So yeah, it's good to trim them. And I also did trim some rhizomes off so that I can propagate them in other tanks. And this is such a good looking Bulbitis. I love this thing. Hopefully I can propagate them and make more. Well, I already did, but I want to make much more. As for the Bulbitis 𝗂𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀 that we commonly see in the hobby, this is the one I've got at home right now. It's not in its full grown state, so it's still a little baby, but you can still see the leaves are much rounded and very different compared to the Guinea version with the serrated and sharp leaves. Here's another one that I've got, but yeah. Alright, and take a look at that. The two tanks have changed so much, and I think it's a lot better than what it previously was. It's not done at all. There's still many plants I want to add into these tanks, and I've just ordered some online, so they should be here in the next few days for me to plant them. But like in this area right here, I really want to add more 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀. I've actually got some right there, you can see, but I used to have a lot more of that plant, but I was running CO2 then and it was growing so well, but then I took the CO2 off and the plant just didn't enjoy it. So moving forward, I'm gonna keep this tank on CO2, a very minimal amount of CO2. It just helps the plants out so much, and I know the 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀 will definitely enjoy it. And I was thinking of going cryptocoryns in this open area, but having cryptocoryns, like just all cryptocorin, is kind of boring, I think, and I've already have a cryptocorin, like mostly cryptocorin tank right here. This tank is also not done, and today I plucked out some plants from this tank and moved them into these tanks, like the Bulbitis there and some of the trident Java ferns that are on the driftwood over there. It's given me some motivation to work more on this tank. I haven't touched this tank in a long time, many months, just of like, not neglect, but just not like focusing on this tank at all. I've been feeding the fish, doing water changes and stuff like that, but I just haven't been getting my hands in and setting this tank up the way I want to set it up. So today it's just given me motivation to work on this tank more, and I'm also going to be moving this tank very, very soon. And at first I was thinking of moving this tank over here where everything is just sat at here, so we'll have like a middle section complete. But now I'm thinking I really want this tank in my room, and I know in the past I mentioned, some of you may have heard me say that I didn't want a tank in my room, but right now I really want this tank in my room, and I think it'll make a great backdrop for live streams once we get all the plants set up. And it's a very easy to maintain tank. Like, there's really nothing I have to do here except do a water change once every 2 weeks and feed the fish. And if I ever go somewhere to do fish store tours or something and I'm out for a few days or a few weeks, I can put an auto feeder on here and it'll feed the fish, and it's a very easy to care for tank. These plants grow really slow and they don't need much maintenance at all. So, and then the African cichlid tank, which the lights are turned off now, I'll move and put it over here. And then the tank that will go over there, I'm thinking maybe saltwater? I'm not sure. So let's take one last look at this tank the way it is right now. We've got a sponge filter, the 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀 sponge filter at the back there, and we've got 15 boesemani rainbow fish that I bred, and they're all in here with one little guppy koi tuxedo. This is one of my nice males that I want to breed in the future. And then we move the angelfish into this tank over here. So it's got my little angelfish as well as a few that I also bred. So angelfish and rainbow fish are basically my two favorite types of fish that I want to focus on more. And now with this tank, you can see we've got some crypts. This is 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 doing a lot better and growing. Well, it's not doing a lot better, but it's just been in here longer, so it's had more time to grow. So this will look like that in the future. It's gonna grow taller, and I really want the two sides to have this cryptocorin pontidifolia. I'm still not sure what I'm going to add in the back. I'm thinking of adding maybe a green tiger lotus, because I have one actually in that tank over here. If we take a look from the top, there's actually a green tiger lotus back there, and you can see some of the leaves are a little bit red, but that's just because we're using a pretty strong light on this tank, and the leaves are turning a little bit red. The green tiger lotus is said to be a relatively easy to grow plant, so hopefully we can grow that in that 3-foot tank, the Rainbowfish tank. And I'm also thinking of maybe adding this one. This is a type of Eichhornia, and it's a pretty unique stem plant. It's pretty uncommon as well, and I've also got some in this tank at the back over there. So yeah, I'm thinking of maybe adding those 2 types of plants into that tank. There's lots of open areas in the back corners, so yeah, there's still stuff I need to add into this tank. And for the back middle, I'm not going to put anything back there because we've got the 𝗯𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀. Even though it's still a very tiny plant, this thing will grow big, and we want to give it space so that it can become like this. And this thing hopefully will get bigger and will start producing little babies. Oh my goodness, the lights just turned off, but yeah, you get what I mean. And taking a closer look at the angelfish tank right now, the centerpiece plant is this tiger lotus Nigeria 2016 version. Not sure who came up with that name, but I guess it was collected in Nigeria in 2016. And yeah, it's a pretty cool looking tiger lotus. I really like the look of this plant. We've got Cryptocorin undulatus Castleman in the front area, right in front of the driftwood. I've also placed some Anubias nana petite over here as well. And then this is the Microswarm trident. It's still relatively small. They're still little babies, so you won't see the trident leaves. Microswarm, you might think, grows really slow, but it actually grows quite fast if you give it good conditions. It can, yeah, once it takes off, it just keeps going, and you gotta actually trim it quite often. But it's a easy plant to maintain, and it's a rewarding plant. I really enjoy microsorums. I get questions about what this basket is. This is a basket I got from the dollar store, and it's used for like kitchen sponges, and it's just a hanging box. It's got a suction cup on the end, and you basically, yeah, when you're washing dishes and stuff, you put your sponges in there, or utensils or whatever, and I just use them to hang these plants. And this is pothos, and I don't have any problems with the suction cups coming off. I've used this for over a year now, and it's still sticking on really well. And I guess if the suction cup goes bad, you can just replace it, or just put it in hot water so it becomes more pliable again, and it should work just good. So I still have to add the filter onto this tank. I've got a canister filter right here that I'll be putting onto this tank, and I'll be taking the sponge filter out so it looks better. I still love the sponge filters. I've got it running on all the tanks back there, the Rainbowfish breeding tanks and stuff. The sponge filters work great for that, but for these 2 tanks, I just want it to look good, so using the canister filter. And I also want to inject CO2, and the canister filter will work better for that. As always though, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. I also love the look of this Bulbitis right here. Just the dark green colors of this look so good, and I'm so excited for these 2 tanks. Let me know what you guys think of these 2 tanks right here. What do you guys think of it? What plants you would add in them? And I'll see you guys next time.